miss Elizalde due to the circumstances of the virus and different things like that. I had to change my topic and change my statement and do everything. I know I already did the survey. I know that if I get points taken off or whatever the case may be, that's fine. It was last minute. I didn't have access to the papers and the worksheets that I had with all my information on it. They're stuck back in Kingsville and I was unable to access them. So with that being said, today I'm going to be talking about the nursing field and becoming a registered nurse. I know that many of you have probably been sick, been ill this year, maybe in the past, maybe in the future you will. And with the circumstances we're having right now, some of you might be in that predicament, if you would say. So today we're going to be talking about registered nurse, and I'm going to be informing you about the process of becoming a registered nurse, the benefits, and the disadvantages of that. To start, there are roughly about 2.9 million registered nurses in the U.S., according to the U.S. Bureau Labor of Stats. That is something that I kind of studied thoroughly, found that stat. I thought that was a important stat to have on there, just to give everyone a breakdown of how many registered nurses there are. Like I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about just kind of the work field of becoming a registered nurse, the process in doing that, benefits and the disadvantages. To start, let's go into how to become a registered nurse. So the first and the most important step is getting your certification. And doing that, you must graduate from a institution or a nursing program. I have two friends, Crystal Salinas and Angelina Camacho, who are in the process of doing so. And those are two sources that I kind of reached out to and used. And they told me that process includes getting your certification and graduating from a nursing program. I also found from concord.edu that is the process in becoming a registered nurse, is getting your certification and graduating. The NCLEX RN exam, or the MCAT, which I believe is for the law degrees, is the exam that you would next have to take in becoming a registered nurse. I found that through concord.edu as well. It was a website and a source that I felt was very idle in me finding much of my information and becoming a registered nurse. The other is the employment, and that is just getting out into the field and being employed. So after you take that exam and you have gotten your certification and you have graduated and you go through that process, now it's just becoming the waiting game, or you reaching out and becoming employed, essentially. So here is our certification, and that kind of goes along with what I was talking about. Now let's get into the benefits portion of a registered nurse. So there's three main topics that I kind of like to talk about and that I found are the key elements in a registered nurse's lifetime, so to say. That being job security, flexibility, and future salary. Job security. I think job security is huge when talking about registered nurse and other jobs, right? So now let's put it into a worldly aspect. Everyone needs a nurse every day, like we're seeing now, and there's a higher demand now with the circumstances we are in. So job security for a registered nurse is huge because there's an abundance of them, and there's always a need for them. I found through Duquesne University about flexibility and job scheduling. It was mentioned that the scheduling, the flexibility of the registered nurse's lifetime, so to say, is very flexible, and that adds in another aspect where you have the families of many of these registered nurses with the women who have kids, and being able to have a flexible schedule is very important. Future salary, or salary, just kind of more, what would it be, bolder statement. future salary just being that in the near future or maybe little later on, there is the chance of having a very well salary, and even at the starting rate, it is very good compared to other jobs. So here are some personal benefits, some travel discounts, student loans. These are other benefits that are included, but the three main ones that I felt were in a registered nurse's lifetime most important were job security, scheduling and flexibility, and the future salary. Now, we always talk about benefits in every job. There's going to be disadvantages, and that's just how life goes. So the three disadvantages that I felt were the most important, or the most bold, the most sore thumb, if you would say, of a registered nurse was the amount of patients that you're seeing. You don't know what illnesses they're going to have. You don't know how they're going to react to you working with them. You don't know if it's going to be a bad patient. You don't know if it's going to be a good patient, which would be very nice. But you don't know what you're going to be dealing with. And there's so many patients you're going to be seeing in your lifetime that it adds you just don't know what to expect. Work days. So what I found through Rasmussen College and an article that I found on there, to have shorter work weeks, you would end up having to work three 12-hour days per week in order to get shorter weeks and have more off time. So that just adds in, there's flexibility, there's the benefits, but in order to get those benefits, in order to have shorter weeks, it includes you taking a lot more hours during those different days. And then on top of that, the emotional stress, right? You're dealing with these patients. In some cases, you might build a relationship, you might build a bond. I have an uncle who had multiple comas and is now in a wheelchair or a motor vehicle, if you would say, and he can't talk and do different things like that. While he was in his nursing home or his rehabilitation place, he built those relationships with those nurses. He built those bonds with them, and to see him leave was an emotional stress on them, and it just hurt for them to see him leave. And they didn't, and you don't know what's going to end up happening with them from them leaving. So just to conclude, today I informed you on a registered nurse, the lifeline, the everyday, the becoming a registered nurse, the certifications, the benefits, the disadvantages. I think that this is a job that now, like we have seen, is of high commodity, and it is something that I think we, as a community, as Americans, we need more of. It's something that I've always been interested in, but it's just something that I could never get full grasp of and really go and get. But I think that it is a job that for many could work for them and be very beneficial. So I hope that was helpful for you, and thank you for coming.